Let's talk about different ways to set up something happen to meet the needs of your clients and keep them engaged. Let's start with some movement options. You can use a die. In a pinch, you can even make your own die. I like to use a coin in shorter boards where heads can be one spot and tails can be two. And there's also the classic spinner. Creating your own board game is the most popular way to play something happen. I often dedicate an entire session to this. Here are some examples of some game boards. This last board is an example of an infinity board. It's based on time instead of a start and finish. Some clients like the idea of a game board, but they don't want to create their own. So on our website, we have a very simple printable board. Another engaging way to play something happen through the game board strategy is to do a live action board. To do this, I hand the client a pile of construction paper and ask them to set that up on my office floor in whatever way they want. This allows for the client and therapist to become the game pieces. Gameplay would continue just like any other board game. Sometimes I have clients that don't want to create a board game or engage in a board game, so I have several card-only options. The first card-only option would be to lay out the processing cards on the table. During the client's turn, they would choose a processing card, and during the therapist's turn, they would pick a coping card. Pass and tell me more cards would follow the same rules as the board games. Another engaging way to do the card-only option is a card hunt. This is especially helpful if there are certain cards that the therapist thinks that the client would benefit from working specifically on. For this, I take the cards and hide them around my office. During the client's turn, the client would find a card around the office, and after each processing card is answered, the therapist would then pick a coping card. Sometimes this can be especially engaging if the therapist has access to a sand tray. Again, on the client's turn, they can find their processing card, and after they answer their processing card, the therapist would choose a regulation card. A final card-only option is to do a card swap game. The therapist would hold on to the processing deck, and the client would hold on to the coping deck. They would each pick 5 cards and hold them fanned out for the other person. On the client's turn, they would pick a processing card, and then the therapist would take their turn by taking a regulation card. Again, tell me more cards and pass cards could be used during this game as well. These are just a few ways to make something happen your own. I'd love to hear how you're using it in your own practice. Feel free to share your ideas.